god, this is so annoying. So, the final episode of American Horror Stories is I'm trying to find the words simply because that is just not what I was expecting. And I don't want to sit here and say that because of my lack of expectations that it was good or bad. There might be people out there who find it enjoyable. But Jesus Christ. I'm trying to find the words simply because this is just odd. Like, again, every episode so far has, in some way, shape, or form, giving me mixed feelings, especially leading up to Feral. And if you listen to my last entry about Feral, you will understand that I came into this with the expectations for the whole season, that each episode was in some way, shape, or form connected to the actual American Horror Stories universe. The only episodes connected so far were the first two, being based in Murder House. And the two episodes after that kind of had me thinking otherwise. And then we got into the last two episodes that aired, being Ball and Feral, which kind of got back on track with actually being really good stories and kind of leading me to the acceptance of, okay, if they're leading down the road where none of these are going to be connected, I think I even related the season or how they did these episodes to Tales from the Crypt, which is perfect. We don't have a show that's like Tales of the Crypt right now as far as I can tell, so that to me is good. And when you have these anthology-based horror shows, being American Horror Story, the new one, Them, on Amazon, you have Channel Zero, which has been canceled, but those 4 seasons are fantastic. You got Black Mirror, which a lot of people are into. You have these anthology-based shows that go season by season, and if you're doing this thing where it's now episode by episode, okay, let's stick to that. And now Game Over decides to jump back and make it about Murder House again. But not only does it base it about Murder House, it kind of does this thing where it breaks the fourth wall, but then doesn't, and then does, and then doesn't, and then does. There's so much like fourth wall breaking within just the universe that the show, this episode is set in, that it just becomes confusing. Like, I don't understand what the goal of this was. I did come to a sort of conclusion, but let me just give you a small synopsis. So basically, it starts off kind of how Asylum started off, where it was like, that was the storyline in Asylum where Adam Levine was in the season, but he's kind of only in it for the beginning. And it's based in the asylum years down the line, and they think it's haunted, and then he's in there with his girlfriend, and he's like, oh, you know about the asylum? And then they're trying to, bang, and then they get murdered. So it's kind of like that, but it takes the presence of Murder House in the real world, where you have these diehard horror fans who come in and they want to stay in Murder House for a night, and that's what they paid for. So they go in there, and they're kind of going through the motions, and they're talking about the show, and they're talking about the actors, and they're kind of just like, oh, look, this is what happened. We got to go down and see the creature from season such and such. And they go down there, and they start, exploring the house. And, of course, it leads into the two of them eventually kind of getting murdered. But what happens after a little bit is that, the lady is expecting, Murder House ghosts in a way, and then they find these girls that are trapped, and she looks at them and they're like, you guys weren't in this season, why are you here? And then she runs upstairs and she sees one of the characters from, I think it's Freak Show or Asylum, I forget where she's from off the top of my head, but then she's like, you're not supposed to be here either, why are you here? And then she runs past her and runs into somebody else, and then it starts glitching. And you're sitting there going, why is she moving? Why does it look like a TV glitch? And then she dies, and then it goes to a game over screen. And then it breaks out of that universe, and it's a kid playing a video game. So I'm like, oh, okay. That's what game over means. It's about the premise of them making the video game. And maybe it's going to be this storyline where, yeah, Murder House exists in the TV universe of this other universe that now this kid is playing in. And then what you have is the mother trying to create this video game to have a connection with her son. And her son hates the video game because he's like, you've never watched the show, you don't understand the characters, you don't get the connection I have. You just you're getting obsessed over this game and whatnot. So she's like, okay, now I'm going to watch the show. Like, how do you start a video game but you've never seen the show? Like, how do you not get involved in the show and then want to be an entrepreneur and make the video game for the show? Like, that's just poor decision making on my part. However, the intro that happens shortly after that is very much a video game I would invest in. So if this was an idea to kind of see if, let's see if people would like an American Horror Story video game, you have my vote. I will 100% invest in an American Horror Story video game. Whatever you set it in, even if you set it in every universe, that would be perfect. I think that would be a great idea, leading all the way up to the apocalypse, and then you having to follow certain stories to get through to, like, stop Michael Landon or whatever. Like, I think of American Horror Story video game would be fantastic, and you should definitely do that if this was meant to be a launching platform to get people interested in an American Horror Story video game. You've got my vote, so do it. But besides that, the entire premise that's set up within the first 15 minutes is completely shitted on when she then goes to the real murder house in the real universe, apparently. So that's the thing. She goes to the actual filming location where the show was filmed, and she discovers, yes, it is real, and then she gets murdered, and she gets stuck in the murder house. So you broke the fourth wall to show us that this is a universe where the show exists, but the murder house is real in this real universe you set up. Not only that, but the first two episodes also exist in this other universe of this third wall breaking thing. So, like, you're telling me that from those first two episodes where they move into this house where people got murdered in real life and they got it for real cheap and they were going to turn it into this bed and breakfast, they never mentioned that, oh yeah, this is from the American Horror Story show. So those first two episodes are null and void because then you've decided that, yes, this lady, the main actress in the first two episodes that creates the storyline and the love interest with the ghost in Murder House that isn't incorporated until these two episodes. So you not only created a bunch of other characters for Murder House for this story, but then you bring back Dylan McDermott to reprise his role for this episode, and you are essentially saying that, yes, it exists, but then you're saying it doesn't exist. Like, you're saying that it's a show, but it's real. So are those first two episodes the show, or is that real life? And why do those first two episodes not mention that there's a show about it? Why do those first two episodes not have anything to do with the same real estate agent? And why is it that you had that gay couple from the first two episodes not even involved in this last one? You had the cheerleaders, the pig face killer, you had Rubber Man, Dylan McDermott, and the nurse. But you don't bring in, like, Evan Peters to reply Tate's role. He's just talking about him. You don't have him come back and do that. You don't even have a small image where maybe when the house is burning at the very end, where it's the two of them, it's their love interest, and they're like, okay, we accept it, and we're gonna walk over to the. You don't have anything that connects any of the actual characters that we loved from Murder House, and you break. Then that happens. And the whole point is, like, yes, the mother is dead and she's stuck in Murder House. And then at the very end, you have the kid who gets so annoyed with the fact that his mom got obsessed with this story that she went and got murdered in real Murder House, that he starts to believe that, yes, okay, Murder House is real now. I'm going to go burn it to the ground. And it takes him a year to make that decision. So on Halloween, she goes and sees him because Halloween is the only time she can leave. She goes and sees his son, and she's like, I'm just going to burn that house to the ground. It's been a year. You didn't think to do that a couple of months ago. It just so happens that now is the time you think that. So then mom goes back, and then all the ghosts, they all go back in. He shows up with a bunch of canisters, and he starts like throwing gasoline all over the base of the house. The psycho girl ghost from the first 2 episodes that fell in love with the redhead chick, the daughter of the gay couple, she's like, he can't, I want to stay. But then all the other ghosts are like, no, we don't want to stay. You can fuck right off. And then they kind of are stopping her from stopping him to burn the house down. And the mother's like, are you sure you want to do this or whatever? So then, bam, burns the house down. House burns to a crisp. And that's meant to be the signal of, fire purifies the land, and now all the ghosts are free. So all the spirits are free, and they take that lot of land, and then it does another time jump 3 years, where they've built condos over it. And my idea of this is some sort of symbolism where they're like, listen, stop asking us for more Murder House. This is the production studio, and this is FX saying, we don't give a shit about Murder House anymore. This is us saying, please shut the fuck up about Murder House, and we're going to basically destroy it. So I don't believe the house itself is actually destroyed. I believe the house still stands. But if they essentially really did take... I should look that up, actually. Did they really take down Murder House? Murder House... location. I mean, it's set in the LA house used in Murder House stories as the mansion, not built on a Hollywood set. The Murder House is a real home in Los Angeles called Rosenheim Mansion. And as far as I could see, it's still around. I don't believe they tore it down or they actually burned it down. So the symbolism is just meant to be, listen, leave us the fuck alone. We don't want to talk about Murder House anymore. And here's us basically saying, forget you fans. We're moving forward with stories. Please don't ask us about Murder House anymore. But then, why... This isn't meant to connect to the actual universe set by American Horror Story. So how is it that you're destroying it for this show? Is that now going to be connected to the other seasons? Like... It's so weird. And then, lo and behold, they break the fourth wall again. They set up the ending where the only spirit that stays around is, the dead psycho girl, and then the redhead girl who becomes Rubber Woman. She buys an apartment in that condo, and she's trying to contact her. And she shows up and she's like, yeah, all the other ones, they all passed on. They all left. They all went on to the afterlife. I didn't want to go. I was going to wait for you. And that's it. But then it goes to another, success screen. Like, you've successfully left Murder House. So did you really, want to say? It pops out the screen and then it shows the kid playing the game again. And the mother's alive. What? The mother's alive, and now the kid's like, yeah, the game is great now, Mom. You succeeded. You did a great job with this new story. Oh my God. So are you basically telling us, fuck off and leave us alone about Murder House? We're not going to talk about Murder House anymore? Or are you, again, there are so many fourth wall breaks. This doesn't make any sense. If you stuck with one of these different four-wall breaking things that you were doing, maybe if you led down a path where the mother gets so invested in Murder House because you lead into this thing where she becomes so obsessed, and then she goes to Murder House and she gets obsessed with the idea of Murder House being real, that then she kills herself thinking that she'll get stuck in Murder House, and then they find her, and then it's like the son kind of finishing the game or whatever. Any one of those could have been a better idea than breaking the fourth wall 3 fucking times and completely not making any sense whatsoever. So, when it comes to this series, I don't know what their expectations were, but I am very disappointed by what they gave me for a finale. I don't know how many other people agree with me or don't agree with me. There might be some people out there that were perfectly okay with the decision-making process of this episode. But I'm really gonna have to say, as a true fan, and as a person who my emotions were very mixed throughout this season, I'm very disappointed with this finale. And I really hope that if they move forward with this, they do a lot better with their decision making processes when it comes to the stories they choose to do here. This really was just kind of, for me, kind of a slap in the face for fans, because why must you have such a convoluted story that has a direct connection to a very beloved season for a lot of people, and then you're trying to maybe get these messages across where you're telling the fans to leave you alone about Murder House, but then you just do so many like poor decisions story-wise that you lose any sort of sense this might have made. And maybe somebody got something else from this episode that I didn't get. All I know is that I watched this, and as new things were popping up and as things were kind of contradicting previous things in the story, I started losing this idea of where my attention to the story should actually be. Am I in a video game? Am I in the real world? Where am I in this universe you're trying to set up with this story? You haven't made that clear, and maybe that's what you were going for. And again, there might be some people out there that enjoy it, but I'm going to say flat out, this was bad. Not as bad as the naughty list, but this was bad. This was a bad way to end the first season of what you're hoping out of this show. And I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. I do know Double Feature is very close behind, and I'm looking forward to getting back on track with whatever they have planned for that season, and kind of getting away from this mixed atmosphere that you're trying to give me with these episodes. This was just such a poor way to end this series. Such poor decision making. And I'm going to have to say the only positive that came out of this was I am perfectly okay, again, with an American Horror Story video game. I'm okay with that. Give me that. I will play that. I'm trying to start a Twitch channel. I will play this game on my Twitch channel till my heart's desire. Like this, that's a good concept. I will back that up. I will donate on Kickstarter. Whatever you want to do, I will buy an American Horror Story video game. That's the only thing I've gotten from this episode, and I'm not sure if that's what your goal was, but I'm going to say it probably wasn't. However, that's the only positive thing I can see coming out of this, is a hopeful American Horror Story video game.